Hey, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm super excited because I am going to read Fourth Wing and then meet Rebecca Yarros very shortly after I finish it. So let's talk about how we got here. This is a first edition of Fourth Wing. I bought it back in May, like before all the hype around the frayed edges really took to book social media and before it was sold out everywhere, obviously. And I was convinced that this was a duology with Iron Flame. Did I do any research? No. Did I come up with that idea on my own? Probably. I can't think of one valid source that ever said that. In my mind, I thought, oh, because this one's coming out and the second one comes out so soon after it must just be a duology. I was thinking along the lines of Divine Rivals, how fast of a turnaround that has been too, where Divine Rivals came out, I think April, and the second part for the duology comes out in December. So I just assumed, okay? And I still hadn't read it. I was holding out. I found out it was going to be a 5-book series, and I was like, well, some people are telling me just to wait till the second one comes out anyway, so I held off. Then for book club, which was another video we did, we read In the Likely Event by Rebecca Yarros as well, and I enjoyed it. So when I saw that Anderson's Bookshop was going to have Rebecca Yarros tour there, I really wanted to try to get a ticket. So I am one of the 400 people that will be able to go to Anderson's and get 2 books plus Iron Flame signed by Rebecca Yarros. These are the 2 books that I plan to bring with me, and I'm so excited to go back to Anderson. I feel so terrible because this ticket buying experience was not at all representative of Anderson's in my opinion. I have been to a few Anderson's events before. I'm going to continue to go to Anderson's events where it's authors that I really want to see, but I do want to talk a little bit about the ticket buying experience before reading Fourth Wing. So I knew when the pre-sale was going to be, and I have won a lot of concert pre-sales, luckily. I have been able to see Taylor Swift twice. I've been able to get tickets for Olivia Rodrigo, get tickets for Noah Kahan twice, and I am usually pretty good in terms of trying to get tickets, so I thought this time would be a similar experience. So I logged onto the website about an hour early and would just casually refresh. And when the tickets went on sale at 11 a.m., the site crashed. I was so scared. But where it crashed for me is that I was able to select a ticket and then I was just stuck on a loading screen for like 2 hours. So then I started refreshing and going back and forth, and after all of that time, I eventually made it to my payment screen, tried to enter my payment information. It didn't accept it the first time. I was able to get to the payment screen a second time, was able to type in my information, and luckily the purchase went through. So I learned that I am number 59 in line, which when going to an Anderson's event, the order you are in the signing line is pretty important. I was, I think, number 70 something when I met Alex Astor. I think I was only like 20 something when I met Rebecca Ross. So being 59 out of 400 tickets, I feel like is really good. I don't think I'm going to be there, for hours on end, luckily. Like, unfortunately, I think the, 300 and 400 folks will probably be there a while. If I was number 300 or 400, I don't think I would necessarily show up right away. I would maybe show up like 30 minutes later because I don't think there's any way they can get through everyone in time. The rules for this signing, because I don't usually see Anderson's having rules, but with Rebecca Yarros, I feel like they kind of have to, is that she'll sign 2 other books. So in my head thinking, okay, getting 2 books signed plus Iron Flame personalized, plus you can get a picture with her, right? It's probably going to be about a minute or so per interaction is what I'm thinking. So I will probably stand in line for the hour that I have to stand in line for. I believe Anderson's is super honest, at least when I've been there, about the number you are for tickets. So I definitely am excited to see how this goes, but I don't want to go until I read Fourth Wing. And I feel like recording my reactions to Fourth Wing will be really fun. I think it's a book that a lot of people know. I've used almost every filter I can find on TikTok as like trying to get me into Fourth Wing without spoiling anything. So I know what type of dragon I have. I know that I'm supposed to be a scribe. I don't know what that means. And I ranked people, and I guess I ranked Liam 10th because he was like a blonde person in fiction. I feel like that was a red flag. I guess I was wrong. And I also then did who I thought my own character would be, and it said Mira. I don't know who that is either. The only things I really know about the book is that the main character's name is Violet. There is somebody named Dane and somebody named Xander, and there's dragons. That is my knowledge going into this. So I do like fantasy series. I'm really excited to get into this and see what Fourth Wing is all about. Like, I haven't even read the back for this book at all. I haven't seen anything really except the front, and the front isn't too revealing on to what any of this means. Oh, I also think there's a school, I believe. That is something that I think I saw on one of the maps near the beginning. I really don't know anything going planned this, so this is pure first reactions going into it. My goal is to finish this with enough time to also make like a little custom sweatshirt with something I really like from the book, so then it will be fun to take a picture with Rebecca and something customized that I've made with my Cricut. So step 1 will be reading Fourth Wing, step 2 will be our outfit, and then step 3 will actually be going and meeting Rebecca at Anderson's. So let's start by actually getting into the book. And just for reference, today is October 22nd. I meet Rebecca on November 11th, so I have a little under 2 weeks to read, make my sweatshirt, everything like that. I hope I can do it in time. We'll see by the end of this video. All right, it's October 23rd. Let's do a quick Fourth Wing reading update. Yes, I don't have a real bookmark. I use Post-its. I am a little over 20% of the way done. I'm on page 128, and it's definitely been an experience. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do spoilers or not for the book, but I feel like I can't fully talk about the book without spoilers. So if you haven't read Fourth Wing yet, I would skip, I guess, this part to where eventually we're making clothing and meeting Rebecca Yarros. I think in terms of the clothing, and I know it might be kind of cliche, but I feel like they keep coming back to the line, which is like the first line in the chapter 1, like before getting into the actual chapter. It comes from Article 1, Section 1 of the Dragon Riders Codex. It says, a dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. Pretty sure I'm going to use that. I feel like that's been a constant motif throughout the book so far, but again, we have a lot of book left, so I might change my mind. So now on to some of the spoilers regarding this book. I wish I was recording my facial reaction for chapter 1 when we see the first person fall off the parapet. Now, I thought we were going by general, like if you get a name, you live, and that's clearly not what happens in the first chapter of this book. Now, I don't know why I was so surprised, because Fourth Wing obviously came out in May. Rebecca released In the Likely Event, which is the only other book I've read by her. She released that in July, August of this year. I think it was our August book club read. So I think it came out in July, and she literally has a plane crash in the first 90 seconds of the plane ascending. And that's on the back of In the Likely Event. Like, that's not a spoiler for that book at all. You read the back of the book and you know there's plane crash coming. So I don't know why I was so shocked that we like saw somebody die at the very beginning of the book. At first I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. He had a name and he died. And then I was like, Anna, you're so dumb. She literally had a plane crash in her other book. So I kind of just threw that out the window for this book. I am really interested to see where Violet and Dane's relationship go, because I don't like Dane. I don't know if that's a common thing. I don't know if that's an uncommon thing, but Violet, we know, was supposed to go to the scribe quadrant, and now she's in the writer quadrant, and Dane's like, leave the writer quadrant, get out of here, go to the scribe, do it for me. And I'm like, you're so dumb. Like, if she's there, she's gonna do it. She obviously cares more about her mom than she cares about you. I don't know why he keeps pushing it. And then I am not like the biggest fan of like the enemies to lovers trope personally. I just don't know if I've read a book that's like done it really well. So I think between Xaden and Violet, what I can appreciate that Rebecca is doing is Violet is at least being like, he is an attractive person. Because I feel like in so many books, people are like, I don't know why I'm so attracted to him, blah, blah, blah. And in this book, Violet's just like, yeah, he's hot, even though he's an asshole. And I feel like that is something I don't see a lot, at least in the books that I've personally picked up. So that's really exciting. I will admit there have been some parts when reading this that have confused me, but I also feel like this is an accessible fantasy at the same time. I feel like what's been a little bit hard is just some of the imagery of what the world looks like, specifically the gauntlet, where the riders have to like go through this gauntlet to get to the area where they're first going to meet their dragons, and they get to practice this gauntlet because it's either you make it up the gauntlet or you die. So fun. And I feel like that has been extremely hard to picture. And like, I've tried to Google images or whatnot, and there doesn't seem to be a clear consensus on what the gauntlet looks like. A lot of people are comparing it to American Ninja Warrior, which, okay, I'll take that, you know, but I wish that, I guess, was a little bit clearer. It was just written so fast paced. It's like my brain couldn't hold on to the descriptions. I feel like the Pet was done pretty well. I feel like the general layout is done really well, and I can see why so many people do cling onto this book because I feel like it is an accessible fantasy. Rebecca doesn't bog you down with the world building right away. She does it in a way wherever Violet is anxious, you start to learn more about the world, and you like are reading about the classes where it also teaches you the history, and she has banter during these classes that I think just make it more accessible for people to read. So I think it's definitely going to be interesting continuing to read and to see where Xaden and Violet's relationship goes, because I feel like that's obviously what's coming. I also think Dane is just not like a good person. I think Dane, and I don't know if this is just like me or whatnot, I think Dane knows something about Violet. I think Violet's gonna get like a kick-ass dragon and Dane's gonna be jealous or something along the lines, because obviously Violet's two siblings were exceptional. People keep telling her how smart she is, and I get her hesitations in not being so confident because, you know, the riders seem very physical. She's not the most like physically adept person. She's been winning a lot of her battles, like poisoning the people ahead of time, and so I think she's really smart, and I feel like there could be a dragon that bonds with her. And I don't know if Dane just has like a suspicion of that, or like why he's not being like a good best friend. He kind of sucks. Like I'm kind of done reading about him. I don't know if I necessarily want to read more about Xaden then, but at least Xaden I feel like isn't sugarcoating anything with her. Like Xaden accepts that she's there, and even though Xaden has said he's gonna kill, I mean, I don't think he's gonna kill her. I'll say that right now. I don't think he's gonna kill her. I don't think he wants to act the same way that like Violet's mom acted, where like somebody else is getting the blame for like their parents' actions. I could see Xaden killing Violet's mom though, for sure. I could definitely see that at some point in the series happening. And then, you know, Violet then would obviously hate Xaden. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I could just see that at some point happening. So I counted the days wrong until I meet Rebecca Yarros. I meet her on November 11th, so I have like 18 days until I meet her, which is extra week for me. So I feel like I'm definitely going to finish this. It's been an accessible read. It feels very easy to read, not too heavy, and I feel like there is definitely world building, but I feel like we're not even that far into the world. I feel like Rebecca's going to like lay it out over the 5 books. I will also say this now, I don't see how this can be 5 books unless there's some major stuff that happens. I cannot see this going beyond the 3 years that they're in school. Clearly from some of the like hints is that there are some riders that might be sent to war early, and okay, that takes us off the traditional 3-year timeline, but I just can't see it going past those 3 years for me. I don't know how she's gonna make it into 5 books. I don't know if she's gonna switch perspectives or anything like that. I don't really see how this can be 5 books. And also I assume that all the books then are going to be 500 pages or longer. So you're telling me this series is going to have 2,500 pages? I mean, I just don't, at this point, being over 20% in, I just don't see how the long-term progression can happen. I can see the 3 years in school. I can see there being a year for war, and maybe the 5th book is like wrapping up this 400-year war, maybe. However, I have seen a lot of people record themselves like reading the end of 4th Wing, like without any spoilers, and obviously something shocking is going to happen at the end of this book, and so maybe all my predictions will be wrong, but I don't know. We will see. I don't know how much time I'm gonna have to read today or the rest of this week or next week. It's kind of fluxing in the air, so I'll probably check back in after I get to about the 50% mark, maybe around the 75-ish% mark, and then I do also want to record myself reading the last chapter and seeing what my reaction is and seeing if I know what the ending's going to be or whatnot. I'm not always good at predicting how books are going to end. I either know how it's going to end from the beginning or I don't know at all. So we'll just have to see. Okay, I'm a little over halfway done with 4th Wing, and I definitely have some thoughts, but I did actually get an email updating on the Rebecca Yarros event and how they're going to do the line, and I haven't seen something like this before, so I thought I would talk about it. It looks like we get to line up in specific time slots, but then within those time slots, they're not necessarily keeping us in number order. So my time slot will be at 1:15, and who knows exactly when I'll get there. I probably won't be exactly number 59. I don't know. we'll just have to see when I get there. But I thought it was interesting. They did make it very clear how many books she can sign. They also made it very clear what other books are being sold during the event. So I'm excited that Anderson sent out this email blast, a little over 2 weeks before the actual event. Today is October 25th. So I didn't do too much reading the past few days, but I definitely did more tonight after being re-inspired by the email and just wanting to take time to read instead of doing anything else. Now that we are a little over halfway, like the other part, there are spoilers. I predicted that Violet was going to be paired with a black dragon. Was not expecting to, that's for sure. I wasn't expecting, I guess, like the mated pair part either, because it seems like nobody else really has that, and it wasn't something I felt like that was explained. And I feel like that's one thing with Rebecca Yarros' writing, at least in this fantasy book, and it was similar in The Likely Event. There is so much thrown at you in such a short amount of time still. There's so much that goes on in this book, and it's just a little hard to keep up with. And I don't feel like I'm the fastest reader, and I still feel like I'm either forgetting small details, even though I feel like I'm reading it closely. So I don't really know. I also brought this book to my husband's bowling league the other day, and somebody asked me how I was liking it, and I was like, yeah, I've been liking it so far. And they said, oh yeah, my roommate was reading it, and the first part was really heavy on the fantasy, and then the second part gets more into like a romance. And I was like, that's right, because I know this is a romantasy. Rebecca wrote romance books before Fourth Wing, so that only makes sense. And I think I'm starting to get into more of the romance part. So that's going to be really interesting to see how she mixes it in terms of the world and then the romance, because I want to stay in this world. I want to stay with the dragons. I don't want to get too distracted with the romance from the plot. I definitely have predictions on now where I think it's going to go, because they talked about this squad battle where if you win, you get sent to the front lines. So if Violet's squad wins, they're going to go to the front lines. They're probably not going to go back to school. And then also the teachers are definitely keeping stuff hidden from them, and I'm not sure why. That's kind of weird. I do really like the cast of side characters so far. I feel like I've learned a lot more about Liam specifically, and I had ranked him in a previous ranking video at like number 10. I definitely wouldn't rank him at number 10 anymore. I don't think he's that bad of a guy. And so I don't fully know where everything is going to go, but I feel like this part of the book is definitely going to have more romance than the front half, obviously, which I do like that. I feel like in terms of this like enemies to lovers deal, the one thing that has still been consistent is Violet has been able to say, yeah, Xaden is very attractive. Even though I don't like him, even though I've heard all these things, he's still very attractive. Because I feel like a lot of the enemies to lovers, they're like, I don't know why I'm attracted to this person. But Violet has definitely still embraced that she feels lust towards him. So I kind of appreciate that in terms of this like enemies to lovers type of trope. I definitely want to know more about the dragons. We haven't gotten to what Violet's like special power is from Taryn. So I definitely want to see what that is. Hopefully that'll be within the next quarter. And I think I'm going to read a little bit more tonight, but I wanted to make sure I did my like halfway through update of reading. I haven't found any other lines that I really want to use on a shirt. Maybe what Violet's mom says at the end of Threshing. I thought that was a decent line too. I'll have to find it. So the other line that I liked is on page 191. It says, welcome to a family that knows no boundaries, no limits, and no end. So I feel like that might be kind of cute as well, versus the other quote that I'm thinking of, which is, a dragon without its rider is a tragedy, a rider without their dragon is dead. So I feel like it's going to be one of those two that I end up choosing so far. Again, unless there's something left in the like almost 200 some pages that there are left to read. But I'll be excited because I definitely think I'm going to order a black shirt. I definitely want to get white lettering. I might get some gold lettering too, for both of her dragons, since she has a gold dragon and a black dragon. And so I feel like that might be fun, but I definitely am excited to get to that design part of it. I don't know how much I'm going to read over the next few days, so I definitely want to spend the rest of the night reading. And the next update will be when we are about 3/4 of the way through the book. I am interested to see what happens, and I'm definitely going to keep making predictions throughout. All right, I came down here to film something else, but I thought I should do a little update on my reading of Fourth Wing. It is November 3rd, so I have, where's it the 4th? I'm trying to figure it out in my head. I believe it's actually November 4th, and I am officially 3/4 of the way done. I only have that much left to read, and it's so hard because I really was enjoying the unique feel of the world to me. And I don't know if it's because maybe I haven't read as much fantasy, but I feel like the beginning 66% of the book was like pretty new to me. This idea of this college for older folks, again, like mid-20s, not even mid-20s, like early 20s with the dragons and then these different skills in this world. Like it felt very unique to me. And then we get into this portion of the book, I would say between 66% and 75%, where we find out Violet's signet, which is lightning wielding. And it's been done before, I think too many times for me to personally be impressed by it. I thought she would have something, I don't know, still along the lines of time, I guess. Like, because we know with her one dragon, Andarna, she can pause time, which we'll get to that. So I thought it would still be time related. That's what I thought. And I feel like that would be cool because I feel like I don't necessarily see that as much, but it's lightning. I feel like I've seen it a few times. So I wasn't really impressed by that. And I was just kind of like, okay, especially when Xaden's signet is so cool in terms of like the shadows and controlling those. And maybe somebody else out there has been like, well, I've seen the shadow controlling too many times in books. And this is what I mean by it's like, I can see if this is someone's first delve into any type of fantasy world, I can see how that signet is still fresh and new. And then we get into more of the romance part with her and Xaden, which like to be expected with Rebecca Yarros because she was a romance author before Fourth Wing. So I, definitely anticipated. And now we're getting where she had used Andarna's power, that type of like stopping time, to save her friend's life. And then she ends up killing Jack Barlow, which fine, kill him. He sucked. Who cares? But she uses the power to save this guy's life. And it's like, well, you know what it did to her last time. You did it in front of other people. I feel like that's going to have terrible ramifications for her. So there's I think I have 120, maybe 115 pages left. So how do I think the book's going to end? What type of cliffhanger? I'm going to be honest, I have no clue. I have no clue where it's going to go because I feel like with this particular last quarter that I read, we had like the squad battle and then we had this other war battle. I wish I had a syllabus. I wish I had a syllabus at the beginning of the book because I feel like things are just being thrown in to further the plot. And it's like, okay, I feel like with other fantasy series that I've read, we get to kind of the like bigger battle or the bigger scene, right? Like we either get to it very early on and it determines the rest of the course of the book, or it kind of comes midway and then it, then alters the course. I feel like we keep getting these huge events like constantly, like there's no break. And I'm not necessarily against it. That's just different. So I really wanted to love Fourth Wing. I don't think it's a 5 out of 5 star read for me. I'm still enjoying it, but I feel like looking at it, I really want to do research in terms of like looking at other people who love fantasy and seeing what they have to say about Fourth Wing. That is what I'm really curious of because I feel like I've seen a lot of people who are newer to fantasy or whatnot saying that they loved it. And I feel like if this was one of my first fantasy books, maybe my rating would be different. But like I went in with such a hype and now I feel like it's different. And I hate to compare it to Divine Rivals, but that's the other kind of big romantasy book since it's, that romance aspect is in there. And with Divine Rivals, I feel like that world to me stayed unique the entire time. With Fourth Wing, it's not staying as unique to me. That's just me personally. I do think the mind connection between Violet and Xaden is really cool, but I wonder if that's going to come back to like bite them in the butt or if it's an exception that they can read each other's mind because their dragons are mated. I mean, someone's head was literally snapped because they started reading people's minds. I think people are like, oh, it's a good thing to have in battle. Like no one's really upset about it yet, but like I'm curious if that's going to change. So yeah, in terms of predictions, I literally don't know. I have zero predictions anymore. I still think Dane could be a bad guy, I guess, but like I feel like I can see why people, I guess, are so shocked by a cliffhanger because like I don't know what's coming next, right? Like we know there's going to be some type of graduation. I assume there's still graduation, and we know Xaden's a third year, so I guess that'll happen. But then after that, like what, they just go to the front lines? Like I assume there's going to be some twist that maybe there's been like kind of small clues planted for, but like I don't know. It's just not like I can't see where it's going. And so I feel like because of that, that's why so many people are so shocked by whatever this last chapter has. So I'll be curious once I hopefully read the last chapter this weekend. Maybe I'll be eating my words. And then I have gotten ideas for what I want to wear to meet Rebecca Yarros. So hopefully I'll start making that this week because I kind of need to, or I'm just going to show up in regular clothes. And that's kind of just like not my vibe when I go to these things. I want to like wear something, kind of related to the author in the book. So let's keep trucking on. Hello, we've gotten to the final chapter of Fourth Wing, which I'm going to record myself reading. Now, the only thing I saw before putting down the book and starting this clip was that it's from a new perspective. And I will say this now. I have learned my lesson about what sudden perspectives mean in books like these. It means one of two things. This, and I guess I should have known with like the blurb on the book being from Tracy Wolff, because if you've read the Crave series, you know. Should have known with that. Or I am nervous about a Veronica Roth being pulled. And I was starting to get that feeling that like, because this is supposed to be 4 more books, I still don't know how it's going to be 4 more books. And I am scared this series is going to get Veronica Roth. That's going to make me, sad. I'm hoping it's more along the lines of Miss Tracy Wolff, because I do really like Crave, but I don't know what's going to happen. So let's read the last chapter together. Okay, I feel like I've only read a little bit where we find out that Xaden is related to a previous rider of Sagles. I'm probably going to mispronounce that, so I will have to look up the proper pronunciation. But he is related to a previous rider of his dragon. Didn't know that. And the top says you're all cowards from Xaden's dad. Okay, I feel like we're going to get a ton of information. And this is where, again, doing something drastic at the end. Like, this is obviously all build up for the future books. I again, just don't know how many future books I can realistically see. Okay, so we just learned that Andarna is now huge. I feel like that just doesn't make sense with what we've learned so far. And like, I know we're not going to get answers in this book, but Iron Flame is 878 pages. I sure do hope we get an answer in that book. All right, so for the past few minutes, my husband was on the phone with his family, which is obviously fine. That was just at a interesting time as I am still recording. So obviously the big twist at the end, right, is that Brennan is alive. And I feel like that is very, very YA. Like, for characters not to really be dead, very YA. I feel like, I guess I just wasn't, I definitely didn't see it coming, right? So this is interesting because so on page 5, it says, no one has dared to mention Brennan or his dragon in the 5 years since they died fighting. So the big line that I feel like everyone knows is, a dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. So where is Brennan's dragon? That's my very first question. Where is Brennan's dragon? Because I feel like if it's alive, it would still be communicating. So has Taryn also just been able to communicate with that dragon? Like, I have a lot of questions on the dragon front. And then I don't think the dad is dead. If the dad is dead, then he was definitely killed by her mom, for sure. It's one of those two. Dad is either alive or dad was killed. And then I feel like Mira doesn't know. I feel like most of them don't know. Clearly, this is an issue of history, who is controlling it and whatnot. So either dad's gonna come back or dad was killed by mom and Violet's gonna find out. And again, like, where is Brennan's dragon? Where is his dragon? I don't know why I'm so concerned about that, but that's what I'm so concerned about. And I can see how, again, we're getting Xaden's perspective. I can see why more people want chapters from Xaden's perspective. So again, I don't know how this is going to last 5 books. I don't think it was fully explained either how powerful wielding lightning was until getting into the later battles. So I feel like I didn't have as big of an appreciation for it as I do now, because I was like, oh, she can wield lightning, no big deal. I didn't realize that it was something that could kill dragons. I guess I didn't really think of, necessarily what kills dragons, but obviously that is now a huge skill. Don't think everybody has power to do that. So that definitely changed my mind. I guess I wish I knew that a little bit earlier, and maybe it was written and I didn't miss it, but I feel like it wasn't. And then obviously Zayden's been keeping this secret about his territory. So like what else is behind there? Who else is there, right? And I feel like if her mom and the king obviously know about the venom like trying to destroy all these places, they would have to know that it didn't burn down. So I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of unanswered questions. Iron Flame is 878 pages. How many will be answered? I don't know. That'll be really interesting to see. And I know everyone's like, oh, enemies to lovers. The lovers are already together at the end of book 1. No, they're not. Absolutely they're not. Like, I definitely think that obviously they will probably get back together, but I mean, like, that's huge. So now my only thing is there's been so many huge things that have happened. What else is going to then be piled on for the next 4 books? Because I was really convinced this was a duology, and you know what? I really think this would have made a good duology. And maybe it's just because I don't have that creative author brain, or I don't know where it is, but I don't know how many twists like that can be dropped to continue this series into 5 books. I just don't know. Obviously, we were left with Liam telling Violet to protect Sloane. So like, is Violet gonna go back to the school? Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And like, obviously we've known that like the higher ups have been keeping information from Violet, but now that she knows everything, I don't know, she doesn't seem very good at like keeping her emotions in check or like hiding secrets in general. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how that plays out in Iron Flame. There's gonna have to be obviously like other stuff made up, because it's clear that, you know, there is a larger enemy that her mom and others are like not willing to fight, but that the Flyers and some riders are. So I feel like there's gonna be a lot more conspiracy going on, I guess. But like, again, how it spans 5 books, I don't know. And here's what I mean. So for example, with other fantasy series I feel like I've read is, let's think of, at least for me, I feel like this is starting to become very comparable to Red Queen and the way that Victoria Aveyard sets up her books. Now, Red Queen was 4 books, and we didn't really get to like the final battle of the 2 sides that had been warring for so long until book 4. And you learn about this war in book 1. And so that is what is kind of dragged out between the 4 books, is this idea of a war. So I guess the war is also going to be, but now at this point, like, I don't know if there's even a war, because it seems like the Griffins have way bigger things to deal with than like a war with the dragons. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. I will design my sweatshirt, and I will then be able to get my hands on Iron Flame. It'll be very interesting. I really don't know where it's going to go. I'm excited to meet Rebecca Yarros still. Don't know where this is going to go at all. And I think it's kind of good. But again, if things start getting pulled out of nowhere, that's kind of where I'm like, It's just so bizarre, because it feels like everyone just covered up the death of this like person. Like, I don't know. That's kind of messed up. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see how Iron Flame starts. And again, like, how many more surprises can truly be pulled? Like, we still need to get figured out with the dad. We still need to get figured out with like the venom. We still need to get figured out about, I guess, the continent as a whole. But again, like, how do you stretch that to 5 books? I just don't know how it's going to get stretched that far. So we'll have to see. Okay, it's 2 nights before the signing. I really like the little sweatshirt that I made, and here's the back. I feel really cool in this, and I really like that I made it myself. I feel like up here is a little plain, but at the same time, like the zipper. So I feel like it's gonna be fine. I have not read any of Iron Flame. This is not a video about Iron Flame, but I did make this using my Cricut and just my own ideas in my head. So I really like it. I think it'll be cool to take a picture of, and because it's November in Illinois, it's gonna be a little chilly the day that I go. So I'm really happy that I did go with like kind of a thicker sweater option. So this is our outfit. The next time you see me, I'll be heading to actually meet Rebecca Yarros. All right, I am parked, and I am so happy because I did find a 3-hour parking spot for free. Oh my gosh, I don't know what is going on in Naperville today besides Rebecca Yarros. I feel like not every single person obviously is volunteer for this because there's only 400 people at the event. But I mean, I had to drive around, I think at least 4 times before getting lucky enough to see somebody like leave and get their spot. So I'm here for 3 hours. I parked at 12:30. I'm definitely one of the first 100 people in line. So I'm hoping I get back to my car by 3:30. But Noah's been around to like mark when my car is here. So maybe I'll be fine. I don't really know. I don't know how they track that with all this parking, but we're just gonna hope for the best. Anderson's did say that they think the event will be done by 4:30. Like that's when they're hoping to reopen doors. So if it starts at 2, then I feel like we're gonna go pretty quick through it. I don't know. I haven't been to Justice Signing before at Anderson's. So I'm gonna sit in my car, I'm gonna read on my Kindle for a little bit, and then we're gonna go get in line and stand there for however long we have to stand there. Okay, so day after meeting Rebecca Yarros, let's go over how the day went, everything that is in this bag. I'm super excited. I wanna start with just like the general flow of how everything went. So again, we were split into different groups on what time we should arrive. I arrived right at 1:15, like the email said. I was definitely later in group B because of when I arrived, but that was fine. I mean, I know everyone was going to get there on time. I was at least happy to be within the first, like 100 orders. So that made me feel really good. And I was just pleased to have a place in line. I stood by some really nice folks who were also there by themselves. So that was fun to be able to talk about books and whatnot. They let in group A, who was the group before us, early. They were giving us wristbands, and then they let us in early as well, which was nice. Gave us wristbands too, and they had a little setup where you could take a picture in front of the parapet that they had like made up there. The parapet was way wider than I thought it would be. Obviously, I think it was just for the photo opportunity, not how obviously actually wide the parapet is. And then we were moving through line, and you could buy additional stuff there, but you had to make the decision really early on if you wanted to buy anything additional. And I thought I didn't want to buy anything, and then I did, and I almost got out of line, but then I didn't get out of line. But overall, I think it was a very smooth like signing process. We kept going through lines. We would approach towards this table where we could actually like put our stuff so you weren't wearing your winter coats or whatever when meeting Rebecca Yarros. And right next to this table, they had like a stamping station where there were 3 quotes that they had chosen. So 1 quote for Iron Flame, 1 quote for Fourth Wing, and 1 quote for Fourth Wing, the holiday edition. And they would stamp the books, and the stamps were in Rebecca Yarros' handwriting. So I thought that was really cool. However, the main stamping person wasn't there when I got mine stamped. So I don't think I got an Iron Flame quote in my Iron Flame book. I got something else, but I just think that makes it more special. So I like kept it. I didn't like them take it or re-stamp it. And so I thought that was really fun. And then when you got to actually meet Rebecca, somebody was handing her the books to sign right away. You had maybe like a 30-second interaction with her. I thought my interaction was so cute. The person who was taking photos for us also took a video of the interaction, so I can play that for you now.
There we go.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Do you know, I've never seen someone use that quote. That's awesome.
The first one, I loved it. I was like, it's either the big one or this one.
I love it. Oh, maybe not. Maybe the pen's okay. Pen is okay. No, we're okay. It's just me. I'm functional. Perfect.
I thought that was just really nice now to have a video of this moment, and I feel really special using a quote, I guess, that she's never seen before. I was kind of like thrown off by that interaction. And then after that, we were able to go and get our little swag bags. So I'll show you the books that are signed, all the little swag there. I thought Anderson's did a great job. My ticket was $38, which for me, I thought was worth it in terms of getting the book, getting it signed, being able to meet Rebecca. I feel like that was a ticket for me that was worth it. Other folks might not agree, but one of the people I was standing in line with flew in from Texas from it. So you can kind of decide, what's worth it to you and what's not. So again, we have this Iron Flame tote bag. I think it's super cute. I did have her sign in the likely event because I didn't want her to sign the holiday edition. I mean, I will be getting the holiday edition, but I wanted her to sign in the likely event instead. And so there is her signature at the bottom. I was like one of the only people I think that brought a non-Fourth Wing book, but I know I'm getting the special edition in December, I believe, but so I wanted her to sign the only other book I had, and so now I feel like this is just extra special. Oh, and then I forgot that there was some additional swag that I put in here as I was pulling out my book. So we have a bookmark, which maybe I'll actually use. I don't know, we'll see. There are some stickers. I picked up some extra stickers to send to some of my book club friends, and then also a little tattoo set. So that was cool. They didn't really regulate how much swag you could take, so I maybe could have taken a few more, but it's okay. I feel like like I was happy with the amount that I got. And then I do have my copy of Fourth Wing that was signed. And you can see the quote that they chose for this book was "I will not die today," and then her signature. So now I feel like this is such a good find to have. I did see some people also with the sprayed edges and they decided not to get the quote stamped in their book. So I don't know if I made the wrong decision, but I wanted the quote stamped in my book because I thought that was really cool. And then finally we have Iron Flame. Just for the size comparison, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You know, I feel like it's so much longer. I just don't, I have no words for this. So I will maybe read it this month, probably not. And then I know with this, there have been some misprints. This book doesn't look like it has any, just from briefly opening it. The top does look like a little bit like the sprayed edges weren't fully put together, but the rest of it looked fine, so I wasn't gonna say anything. And then this one was personalized. She only personalized the Iron Flames. She was signing very fast too, I must say. So she personalized it. And then this is where I'm pretty, like, obviously we know that the book is mainly from Violet's point of view. And so when this says "this is dangerous, she is dangerous," this was supposed to be for the Fourth Wing, like, special edition, but I kept it. I don't know. I have a good feeling that this quote will still be something applicable to this book here. So very excited for that. So that was my time going to Anderson's to meet Rebecca Yarros. I absolutely adore going to Anderson's. This was my third event that I've been to. It would have been fourth, but one of the events was canceled, and I plan to go to a fourth though right at the beginning of January. I check their events page literally every day because I am waiting, hoping, manifesting that Victoria Aveyard is going to come back to Anderson's. I am so hoping because I will take so many books for her to sign. That's like my number one author that I want to come back to Anderson's because she's been to Anderson's before. And honestly, if she goes somewhere in the surrounding state near me, I might seriously drive and go to meet her. I don't know if I would fly, but I feel like I would definitely go and drive. So this has been such a fun journey. I feel like I've been filming this video for a while, but I hope you enjoyed it. I am excited to read Iron Flame. I have a few other books I need to read before that, but I hope I pick it up this month. I actually really don't know. We'll just have to see. And then I don't know what my content looks like for the rest of the month. Of course, I'll probably come up with something. I feel like I get in these slumps where I have a lot of ideas and then not a lot of ideas, and it just kind of goes back and forth. So I don't have anything major coming up, at least that I can think of. Hopefully there will be something that sparks in my head and we'll be able to see so much fun coming down the rest of the year.